Picking a perfect March Madness bracket is basically impossible. The odds are 1 in 9.2 quintillion. What if we just ignored the hype around all the teams and let statistics pick the bracket for us? I analyzed every single team in the NCAA tournament using advanced statistics, find the most dangerous teams, and the biggest upset alerts. Let's get into it. So for this bracket, I didn't just guess. I analyzed every team using a combination of efficiency metrics, schedule strength, recent performance, and other metrics to build the most statistically accurate bracket possible. We're not just picking based on the higher seeds today, we're gonna be picking based on pure statistics. Before we start building the bracket, here are all the metrics I looked at. Just how many games the team won. The first statistic I used was season performance, wins and losses, and also the point differential on victories and defeats. The second metric I measured was strength of schedule. Beating up on terrible teams doesn't tell you too much, so teams that perform the best against great teams get higher metrics for that. Third metric I measured was how teams have performed in recent games. Momentum is important heading into the tournament, and teams that are already hot often continue being hot. Fourth metric I measured was defensive and offensive efficiency. Things like points per possession, opponent points per possession, effective field goal percentage, and opponent effective field goal percentage. This measures just basically how teams score and defend. And then I found one more thing that I think is really important. I found this graph very interesting that compares adjusted offensive rating with possession advantage, which comes from rebounds and turnovers forced. As you can see from the graph, every single team within the last 5 years that has made the Final Four has been in the top right quadrant of this graph. So I did take that into account. And before we even start filling it out, I'll warn you the stats are hinting at some major upsets you might have not looked at. All right, let's get into it. According to statistics and both my personal opinions, Siena is the best 16th seed left in the bracket. That being said, they're still a 16th seed. We're gonna be riding with Duke on this one. I've made so many brackets before this, and I picked TCU for most of my brackets. That's just how I went from watching the team overall. That's just sort of how I felt. But diving deeper into the statistics, I found that Iowa State is one of, if not the strongest 8th seed in the entire bracket. While TCU maybe does have some better wins in the regular season, I think Ohio State's offensive efficiency will be enough to carry them on to the second round. Northern Iowa is actually a great 12th seed with a fantastic defense. I do think there's a solid chance for them to win this matchup, but St. John's has just been hot recently, and that defense is real. I'm picking St. John's to advance. California Baptist has a great, efficient team that can also play some very good defense. This could definitely be an upset pick against Kansas in the first round, especially if Darren Peterson underperforms. That being said, Kansas has had the hardest schedule in the entire league and has had to go through Titans and Titans and Titans. I do think they'll manage to squeak out of this one with a win. Louisville is a great offensive team, but in my opinion, South Florida is also a great offensive-minded team coming into the tournament hot. In my opinion, they're the best 11th seed on the board. We're going to be taking them to upset in this round. North Dakota State is one of the best in the bunch when it comes to 14th seeds. That being said, they're also 14th seeds. Give me Michigan State. Michigan State has fought through a difficult schedule and still remained one of the top teams in the league. They have fantastic players on their team that I trust in the tournament format, especially being coached by Tom Izzo. Give me Michigan State to advance. UCLA is another team coming in relatively hot to the tournament. UCLA's offense is one of the best at handling and taking care of the ball, and they're also one of the best three-point shooting teams in the league. Central Florida, on the other hand, doesn't really stick out at being fantastic at anything in particular. Give me UCLA to advance. I don't know if UConn is going to live up to the 2-seed expectations in this tournament. I do believe they have more than enough to make it past Furman in the first round. Their defense is elite, and of course, they have the coaching experience of Dan Hurley to help lead them on. I have them going on to the second round. We have Prairie A&M or Lehigh, which are two teams that they could be going on against, both of which are, in my opinion at least, and statistically, the two worst teams in the bracket. Give me Florida to advance, no questions asked. Led by Bennett Sturts, Iowa is one of the most efficient, high-powered offenses in the league. Clemson, on the other hand, is slightly more defensive-focused. I don't think their defense will be enough to handle Bennett Sturts and the Iowa Hawkeyes. Vanderbilt, McNeese. This is one of my favorite matchups in the entire first round. Vanderbilt and McNeese, in my opinion, are both the best of their relative seeds. McNeese is the best team in the league at forcing turnovers, but Vanderbilt is also one of the best teams in the league when it comes to handling the ball. Vanderbilt runs a very high-powered offense, where McNeese, on the other hand, runs a very high-powered defense. This is going to be a battle of offense versus defense, and I'm really excited to see how this one plays out. I could see it going either way. but give me Vanderbilt to advance. Nebraska is a fantastic defensive team going up against Troy, who doesn't really excel at any one aspect of the game. Give me a Nebraska to advance easily. One thing statistics don't take into account though is current injuries to the team. A lot of North Carolina statistics are with Caleb Wilson on the team, who is projected to be the 4th overall pick in this year's NBA draft. This game is really going to come down to whether VCU can hit their threes or not. Give me North Carolina to advance, but I'm not sure if I see them going much farther than this without Caleb Wilson. Illinois versus Penn is another matchup that's very reminiscent of Michigan State versus NDSU. Penn is also one of the best 14th seeds, but again, they're a 14th seed going up against a 3 seed in Illinois, who has the most points per possession in the entire league. Give me Illinois to advance easily. This is another battle in offense versus defense. St. Mary's defense is absolutely incredible, and they're also great at rebounding the ball. I believe that rebounding will give them an edge against a Texas A&M team who has a great offense but struggles to rebound the ball. Give me St. Mary's to advance. Idaho is a great rebounding team, but other than that, I don't think they stand much of a chance against Houston, a defensive powerhouse that can also put points up on the board and take care of the ball. Give me Houston to advance. Arizona has a fantastic offensive team and one of the best defenses in the entire league. Braden Burries has allowed this team to push the tempo, score at will, all while getting stops as well. According to statistics, Arizona has the best season performance of any team in the entire league. Give me them to handily advance. Utah State is a great example of just being an underseeded team. I don't think there's a single 8th seed that I would take over them. It's nothing about Villanova, it's about how I feel about Utah State. They have an extremely high-powered offense and a great defense as well, which Villanova doesn't match up. It's really just simple. Villanova's defense isn't as good as Utah State's defense. Villanova's offense isn't as great as Utah State's offense. You can make the argument that Utah State does have a weaker schedule than Villanova, but Villanova also doesn't have the strongest of schedules compared to a lot of the top teams in the league. Utah State in all of their conference championships games advanced by double digits, so give me them here to advance to the second round by double digits. Wisconsin and High Point are two of the best teams in the league at handling the ball and limiting turnovers. On the other side of things, High Point is one of the best teams in the league at forcing turnovers, and Wisconsin in that aspect is one of the worst. High Point also has a very high-powered offense and high-powered defense in which their stats excel all of Wisconsin's. The only argument for Wisconsin over High Point is the fact that High Point has had one of the easiest schedules in the league. While this is true, they have dominated every team on their schedule, sometimes winning by 40 points or more. Give me High Point to advance in this 12-5 upset win. Hawaii's defense is amazing, but it's still going to struggle a lot to match up against Arkansas's high-powered offense led by Darius Acuff. They are the best ball-handling team in the league and one of the best scoring teams in the league. Give me the Arkansas Razorbacks led by Darius Acuff to advance. Texas and NC State are both respectively very similar teams. Maybe not in play style, but in how their season played out. Obviously, they're both in the play-in, so I mean, I guess that's true. I guess that's obvious, but this one's a little bit difficult. It comes down to Texas versus NC State in my opinion. If Texas wins this, I think BYU easily advances to the next round. I think NC State will be a tough match for them. Their offense has been absolutely insane this year, but NC State has also struggled to win games as of recently. No matter what team they advance, give me BYU to advance purely because of the fact they have AJ DeBansta, and I'm positive he's going to go absolutely nuclear in this tournament. In a bracket picked by stats, Gonzaga is one of the teams that stands out the most. In every single metric I checked, Gonzaga destroys Kennesaw State in every single aspect of basketball. Give me them to easily advance to the next round. According to the statistics, Miami is one of, if not the best 7th seed on the board. They have a well-rounded, good shooting team who's great at rebounding the ball. They're also very hot as of recently. Missouri, on the other hand, turns the ball over way too much and struggles on the defensive side of the floor. Give me Miami to advance. I was surprised to learn that Queens has one of the best offensive teams in the league. That being said, they still don't match up to Purdue's offense led by Braden Smith, who are one of the best teams in the league at scoring and keeping the ball safe. Give me Purdue to advance. According to the statistics, UMBC and Howard are some of the best 16th seeds on the board. That being said, they're going up against an absolute powerhouse, in Michigan. One of the best offenses in the league and one of the best defenses in the league, led by Yaxel Lendenberg, who previously shined at UAB and has taken his talents to a higher program where he has only further proved how much of a talent he can be. Give me Michigan to advance. As of recording this video, 70% of people have picked Georgia over St. Louis. It's very uncommon in an 8th seed versus 9th seed matchup, especially in one where the statistics entirely favor St. Louis. St. Louis's defense is just better. St. Louis's offense is just better. Georgia can take care of the ball, but I think they're going to find it difficult to keep up with St. Louis's amazing three-point shooting. While St. Louis does have a weaker strength of schedule, it's not as much of a margin as you would think. Give me St. Louis to advance. Texas Tech has had one of the strongest schedules this entire tournament. Going up against Akron in the first round is an unlucky draw for them, as Akron is one of the best, if not the best, 12th seed available. They have a very high-powered offense that can score the ball a lot and do it efficiently. Texas Tech is not known for being a great defensive team, and I think they'll be surprised with the Akron Zips' agility and play style. Give me Akron to advance. This is another matchup that's purely offense versus defense. The problem is Hofstra's defense is one of the best in the league, but they're still hovering around that mid-top tier mark. Alabama, on the other hand, has without a doubt the best offense in the league, led by LeBaron and Philon. Give me them to handedly advance. Another 11 seed matchup where there's two possible candidates. You'd be surprised to hear that the stats highly favor SMU over Miami, Ohio, despite Miami, Ohio only having one loss going into the tournament. SMU's high-powered offense is a matchup nightmare for Tennessee. That being said, regardless of who they're facing, Texas Tech is one of the best offensive rebounding team in the league. They'll be able to get extra possessions. They're a great defense. Give me them to advance. They're one of the best 6 seeds in the bracket. This is another one that I don't think it's going to be a contest. Virginia dominates Wright State in every single aspect of the game. Offense, defense, ball handling. Give me Virginia to advance in a blowout win. Santa Clara has a fantastic offense that's able to get extra possessions by crashing the offensive glass. They're also one of the best teams in the league at forcing turnovers. Now you look at Kentucky, they're one of the worst teams at forcing turnovers, and their defense just isn't good enough to be able to stop Santa Clara. Give me Santa Clara to advance. Iowa State versus Tennessee State. In my opinion, this is going to be the biggest blowout of the entire first round. Give me Iowa State to advance by 50. Not even going to be close. Not the biggest amount of upsets in the first round, but I know it's crazy to think, but statistics tend to favor the better team. Though you might be surprised about how things shake up in the Sweet 16, second round, Elite 8, and so on and so forth. Duke versus Ohio State is a matchup that I think about 90% of the time is going to go to Duke. If the shots aren't falling for Duke, Ohio State could sneak in and still win. Still, give me Duke to advance. The sun's about to come down. I gotta finish this recording quick. I was hesitant to move Kansas on from Cal Baptist, so you won't be surprised to hear that I'm going to be picking St. John's here. The statistics favor them. The statistics favor them in nearly every aspect. Really, I think Kansas's only chance is if Darren Peterson wants it enough. I'm going to be taking St. John's to move on. I've touched on before in previous videos how Michigan State is one of my favorite teams in the league, but they do have a few struggles. They turn the ball over a little bit too much for my liking, and they don't force enough turnovers. Two things that South Florida is really good at. South Florida is also coming in on a much harder streak than Michigan State. Give me South Florida in the 11th seed to advance to the Sweet 16. A lot of the statistics here heavily favor UConn. One thing that really sticks out, though, is how hot UCLA has been playing of late, and how not so much UConn has been playing of late. This is a matchup that could definitely go either way. Give me Dan Hurley's experience to help lead UConn onto the Sweet 16. Florida isn't my favorite 1 seed, but it's also hard to deny their defensive and offensive impact. Iowa has a great offense, but I feel that they're going to struggle to score against Florida, and definitely going to struggle to stop Florida scoring. Give me Florida to move on to the Sweet 16. Vanderbilt versus Nebraska. The odds for this matchup actually go 50-50, which is kind of funny. This is another matchup where it's offense in Vanderbilt versus defense in Nebraska. Nebraska forces turnovers, Vanderbilt takes care of the ball. Nebraska gets stops, Vanderbilt gets buckets. Vanderbilt has definitely had a harder schedule though, and they are coming into the tournament more hot. Give me them to advance. One of the best offenses in the league against North Carolina without Caleb Wilson. I'm not going to say too much more about it. Give me Illinois. This is a battle of two absolutely incredible defenses in Houston and St. Mary's. One thing on the defensive end, though, is Houston is a much better team at forcing turnovers than St. Mary's. They're also a fantastic team at taking care of the ball, in which St. Mary's is not. I think those extra possessions are going to mean a lot and be enough to get Houston to win. Utah State should be a Sweet 16 team. You give them a higher seed, you give them a different matchup, I think they could easily make it to the Sweet 16. But against Arizona, it's going to be tough. Give me Arizona to advance. I struggle so much at talking, bro. This video's recording is going on for so long. You're going to be able to see the sun just going ooh through the whole video. That's kind of funny. High Point and Arkansas are two of the best teams in the league at taking care of the ball. Arkansas isn't going to put up much of a fight, though, when it comes to forcing High Point to turn the ball over. High Point, on the other hand, is one of the best teams in the league at forcing turnovers, and they'll make it a struggle for Darius Akuff and the Razorbacks. Arkansas has an elite offense. High Point has a great offense. High Point has a great defense. Arkansas has a not so great defense. Give me High Point as a 12th seed to advance to the Elite 8. I love AJ. but the stats, they love Gonzaga in every single aspect of this matchup. Even though on paper, I think BYU matches up fairly well with Gonzaga, it's just going to be tough. Gonzaga is such a dominant team on both sides of the floor. Give me the Zags to advance. The Zags? Gonzaga? Do people call them that? I know they're the Bulldogs, but do people call them the Zags? Have I heard that before? I don't know. Maybe I'm just making stuff up, bro. I don't know how many times I'm going to say it, but this is another matchup. Offense in Purdue versus defense in Miami. Now, Purdue's offense is a lot better than Miami's defense, but Miami's offense is also a lot better than Purdue's defense. I think we look back on Miami's matchup against Virginia, another high-powered offense. Looking at this matchup, Miami got absolutely destroyed. But Virginia is also a much better defense than Purdue. This is going to be a tight matchup that I think could go either way. But here's how I'm looking at it. I think Miami's defense can put up a bigger fight against Purdue's offense than Purdue's defense can put up against Miami's offense. Give me Miami to advance. Michigan and St. Louis are actually two very similar teams. Both are some of the most efficient teams in the league and some of the best teams at making your opponents shoot poorly. Once again, this game is going to come down to, can St. Louis hit their threes? And with Michigan's defenders on the outside, I think it's going to be tough. Give me Michigan to advance. Alabama is one of the most high-powered offenses in the league. They have the highest points per game of any team. Statistics, on the other hand, favor Akron in that aspect. On the offensive end, though, the statistics tend to favor Akron. And when you look on the defensive end, the matchup isn't even really close. While Akron has obviously played a lot worse teams than Alabama has, I think Akron's defense has a chance at stopping Alabama from scoring, where I don't think Alabama's defense has as much of a chance at stopping Akron from scoring. Give me another 12th seed to advance to the Sweet 16. Two great teams on both sides of the floor in Tennessee and Virginia. Two of the best offensive rebounding teams in the league. Virginia's performed overall better in the season, but they've also played much easier teams. Tennessee has the star power and native men over Virginia. Virginia is also heading into this tournament with a big win against Miami and almost narrowly defeating Duke. I'm giving Virginia the edge here. Give me them to advance. I talked a lot about Santa Clara's strengths when they were matched up against Kentucky. Those strengths, like matched up against Ohio State, now look like weaknesses. Ohio State dismantles them on every end of the floor. Give me Ohio State in another blowout win. I said Ohio State both times, I think. Iowa State. Sorry. I actually think St. John's is one of the worst matchups for Duke to see. I think they'd much rather see Kansas or almost any other team in the entire bracket. St. John's defense is going to make it difficult for Duke to put up points on the board, but I still think they're going to put up a lot more points on the board than St. John's will. Give me Duke to advance. As much as I want to move the Bulls into the Elite Eight, I unfortunately think their Cinderella run ends here. I think their lack of being able to shoot three-pointers is going to show up against UConn's harsh defense, where they won't be able to go into the paint and get buckets as easily. Give me UConn to advance. I've been loving this Vanderbilt squad all season. Such an incredible high-powered offense that I think Florida is going to find difficult to stop. While Florida's defense is a lot better than Vanderbilt's defense, and Vanderbilt is going to struggle to stop Florida from putting points up on the board, their SEC tournament matchup, where Vanderbilt won 91-74, is enough for me to say that I'm having Vanderbilt going on to the Elite Eight. I'm going to keep this one nice, short, and sweet. The statistics are absolutely in love with Illinois' offense. The statistics are also absolutely in love with Houston's defense. The statistics don't like Illinois' defense as much, and they still tend to like Houston's offense. Houston is one of the best teams at taking care of the ball, and Illinois is one of the worst teams in the league at forcing turnovers. Houston's going to be able to force so many more extra possessions than Illinois is going to be able to get. They're going to have to put up a scoring barrage to be able to beat this Houston team. Give me Houston to advance. I can't believe I'm saying this again, but the offense over Arizona, one of the best teams in the league, the statistics still love High Point. This is where I'm going to draw the line, though. Arizona's defense is so much better, and they have performed against much better teams than High Point. I think High Point is going to be happy with making it to the Sweet 16. Arizona's going to advance handily, though. Everything I said about Miami against Purdue just doesn't matter in this matchup. It just doesn't matter. Gonzaga, the stats love Gonzaga. Their offense, it says it's so much better. Points per possessions, better. Effective field goal percentage, turnover percentage. All of the offensive statistics favor Miami. Now you look at the defense, it gets even worse. Miami is super prone to turning the ball over, and Gonzaga is so good at forcing those turnovers and forcing other teams to take bad shots. Give me Gonzaga in a blowout win. The offense still slightly favors Akron in this matchup, even against Michigan, but on the defensive end, it's really not close. Give me Michigan in a blowout win. Iowa State has been on an absolute tear recently, only losing the Big 12 tournament to Arizona by 2 points. Both good defenses, both good offenses. The statistics love Iowa State's defense so much more. Iowa State is going to have to miss a lot of three-pointers in this game for Virginia to have a chance to win. Give me Iowa State to move on. Duke versus UConn. This looks like a great matchup, right? Two blue blood schools, two schools with some of the best history in all of college basketball, especially recently. An all-time classic matchup, right? I don't think so. I don't think so. Statistics say Duke outclasses UConn in every single aspect of the game. And I'm not sure how far Dan Hurley's leadership is going to be able to go against a force like Cameron Boozer. Give me Duke to advance. Another offense versus defense matchup. I absolutely love Vanderbilt's squad, but Houston's defense is too good. Give me Houston to advance. This matchup, a lot of the statistics favor Gonzaga. I'm going to go with Arizona in this matchup because even though a lot of statistics favor Gonzaga, a lot of them still favor Arizona, and Arizona has proved again and again they can get good quality wins, big wins against much tougher teams than Gonzaga has played this season. Give me Arizona to move on. Michigan is an absolutely fantastic offensive and defensive team. Iowa State is too. The statistics like Michigan's offense a lot better than Iowa State's, but I think they're comparable. The biggest thing standing out to me is that Michigan, not great at taking care of the ball whatsoever. Iowa State is great at forcing steals. I think those extra possessions are going to matter. Give me Iowa State to advance to the Final Four. All of the statistics favor Duke except for 3. Strength of schedule, which Duke has proved they can beat great teams, so I don't think looking much into that is that important. And then 2 things, turnover percentage and offensive turnover percentage. Now, Duke isn't as bad at taking care of the ball as Michigan is. Duke struggles to get steals and stop steals from happening, especially against a team like Houston, who is great at taking care of the ball, preventing turnovers, and a great team at getting steals. I think this is going to be another great close matchup, another instant classic, just like last year's matchup. While Houston does have those advantage regarding turnovers, steals, and that aspect, they struggle to rebound the ball, and Duke is just a fantastic team. Give me Duke to get their revenge from last year. Arizona is a much worse matchup for Iowa State than Michigan. We saw in their last matchup, Iowa State lost by just 2. This could be another really close game. Unfortunately for Iowa State, it took them 8 threes from Milan to even get 2 points within defeating Arizona. Give me Arizona to move on. This matchup, I really hope we get this matchup because this would be an instant classic. 2 best teams in the league fighting it out. The statistics have brought us this far as to bring these 2 teams into the championship game. Now, where do the statistics lean when it comes to the winner? I want Arizona to get it done. I would love to see them finally come out and win it. The stats, they just say Duke. Give me Duke to win it all. So that's my statistically built March Madness bracket. I'm going to be making a few more videos breaking this tournament down even further. I'm going to make a video where I look at the best and worst possible results for every single team in the tournament. Stay tuned for that next. I'm also running a March Madness challenge, which I'm going to put in the description. So if you want to join that, check it out and come compete against me. If you enjoyed this video or it helped you out with your bracket a little bit, drop a like. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.